Hey, welcome to the Pleasure Points podcast. I'm your host, James Rohr. Jen is on the show. It's my birthday, too. So thank you so much for being here. You can follow me on TikTok at the Tongue Guy. That's where I'm putting a lot of content out right now. It's super fun. I'm enjoying making the videos. I hope you're enjoying watching. And here we're talking about the future and what might happen in the future, and the importance of touch and massage. So I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks for being here. Without further ado. What's up, Jen?
Hello, birthday boy.
Thank you. That's me. It's
Happy
my
birthday.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
3 years ago, I did the podcast with Mark Oliver.
On your birthday?
Yeah. Remember?
Ooh,
he came down.
That's right. For your 40th.
Yeah, it got rowdy. I think I lost some followers with that episode.
Well,
some listeners. What are you going to do?
I mean, I think that, it could be a little controversial, but
He came out hot, and we got super buzzed. We got a little loose.
that can happen.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's amazing how 43 just feels so anticlimactic compared to like 40.
Yeah, those big markers, the zeros, they're important.
Yeah.
Like Wyatt turning 10.
Yeah, well, I just turned 10. I can't believe it. That's
double
crazy.
digits. I must have said double digits at least 200 times this week.
Yeah, I think he likes it, though.
Could be. It's like he's kind of owning himself a little more. He's like, yeah, I'm 10. I'm like, yeah, dude, you're 10.
Yeah.
You can do anything now. You're 10.
Well, it's debatable if he can groom himself.
Well, he can tie a balloon.
Oh, my God. So we were at soccer yesterday, and they have, like, reversible jerseys for whatever team they're on. And he was told to, like, go over to the other team. And he couldn't get out of his jersey to change it. It was like, and everybody's watching because they're just like waiting for him to change jerseys.
Oh, no.
And he just like, he got stuck and he couldn't do it. And it was like pretty funny and also horrifying. But I didn't feel quite as bad because there was another kid that had to do it like right before Wyatt. And the kid like definitely couldn't do it. And he went running over to his dad, and his dad like changed his shirt. And Wyatt like figured it out, but it was pretty funny. And I just keep thinking about all those like stories and memes and stuff of how like kids can like probably program, but they can't necessarily tie their shoes.
Yeah.
It's like, what is happening? Like what? Like it's just so weird getting older.
Technology, that's what happens.
That's what it is, right? It's just like why I can like build all sorts of crazy shit in Minecraft, but then like
Yeah,
have him comb his hair, and it's like
he
whole
can
thing.
edit like a whole video and film an entire like video online and like upload it.
Add sound effects and all the things
Yeah.
and put it on YouTube. But then it's like, can you put the toothpaste on your toothbrush?
No.
Can you brush your teeth without it being a giant glob of toothpaste left in the sink?
Well, I mean, this is the world that we're facing, right? I mean, if you think about it, like with the metaverse and everything, it's like if you have the choice and things are just so easy, you can just click a button, right? It's like that virtual world is preferred to the real world in many instances.
Yeah, it's super terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, even look at us. Like, look at how much time we spend on our phones and on the computer and watching TV.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Wasn't there like some funny comedian that was like, "Oh, let me see how many screens I can get in between my face and the actual TV."
And the big
it was
screen,
like
yeah.
Apple Watch, Apple computer, like
Yeah, the iPad.
laptop, iPad, like,
Yeah,
all the way in front of the TV.
That guy was super funny. What was his name? I don't
Right.
remember. He was he Korean? Asian? I don't know. He was super funny though.
He's really funny.
Yeah, he had a whole bit about napkins too, and how many napkins you get being an American, which was totally reminded me of my mom. She was always getting more napkins from places.
You got to be prepared in case there's a spill.
So many napkins.
Yeah, you have to cut down an entire forest just so that you can have one French fry.
And I think isn't it Japan where they don't even have like public garbage cans because they don't like it cuts down on waste. And I noticed that living in New York. Like if there's nowhere to throw out your stuff, then you start planning to not have things you have to throw out. Like when I first moved to Brooklyn, there were hardly any public trash cans. There was like two in Williamsburg, like kind of right by the train station, or the L stop. But otherwise, like I had to go probably 4 or 5 blocks out of my way if I had something that I wanted to throw away, like on the street. And then eventually there were like more garbage cans that showed up, but I don't know if it was just like New York incompetence or if it was actually planned urban planning to just like have there be less garbage. Probably just have less work for garbage people to do. But I heard that in Japan they don't have like there's not like public garbage cans because they just like they don't want people creating more waste.
That's super interesting. I never heard that before.
So people have like they just get used to. I could be totally wrong, but people just get used to like bringing reusable silverware or bambooware or whatever, and
Yeah.
not using plastic bottles, and then to go. I don't even know if they have to go containers or whatever, but
Yeah.
where people they'll just plan for it so that they can take care of it at home.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Imagine if they did that in the Midwest. They just took trash cans out of people's houses and stopped the trash delivery service. How different.
Yeah, it would change everything.
Like, oh, let me just throw this out. It's like, oh, maybe you would have eaten that moldy cucumber in the refrigerator. I'm talking to myself. If you didn't have anywhere to throw it away.
Right.
Or you'd be composting or figuring out different ways to use the different plastic things or whatever. You can't just get rid of it.
I used to know this guy who used to always say that he's like, everybody should just litter everywhere so that we actually get a sense of all of the waste that we create.
Totally. Can you imagine like if every single week instead of taking the garbage to the curb, we put it in our backyard?
Whoa.
Yeah. I think about this stuff.
I'm sure you do.
I'm pretty good with like trying to recycle and reuse things and hoard things because I'm like, oh, we can maybe use this for some art project 5 years from now.
Yeah, you hoard it until then I throw it away.
Yeah, it's true. But Facebook Marketplace is actually pretty good for some things. Like we were redoing our bathrooms and probably most people would just throw away their old toilets. But we put them on Facebook Marketplace and somebody else had a broken toilet and now they're using it and it's great.
Yeah, they were the guy that got them. They were like rehabbing some apartment building or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, we wanted new toilets and it's great.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's like the toilet worked fine. Just me being snobby, I wanted a white one, not a brown one.
And there you have it.
And that's it.
And that's what's happening.
And that's America. The end. No.
Freedom. Hashtag freedom.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So the in thinking about like the virtual world and the metaverse and all of these things, like I was posting on the other day, I posted on my TikTok account at the Tongue Guy, a story about when I was doing yoga and I experienced someone's like dead father who showed up in the yoga class. And I wonder sometimes with all this like advancing technology, it's just a matter of time until people are like created into some sort of like virtual entity, like where, they'll just create like a virtual version of you. There was a Black Mirror episode where they would create lifelike like mannequins and then they had all the computer technology of like the person's recorded voice and then they give it like a way they program the thinking to be like how you would think and then people just like keep interacting with people as they've died.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
And it's just like, it's just a matter of time until there's more and more of that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about that show Upload that we've watched a few times, what is that, on Netflix or something?
Yeah, I don't know, somewhere.
One of those TV platforms that I don't know. But, that's the whole concept is that when you are going to die, you have the opportunity to upload yourself to some sort of a drive and that will like let you live on forever. And then your loved ones can visit you and whatever in this like fictitious afterlife where you're basically living in a computer program.
Yeah.
Kind of like the metaverse.
Yeah, the show's pretty dumb, but the concept is interesting.
It is interesting because, it makes sense. I mean, think about like how now we replay videos and look at pictures of people that have passed to get a sense of, oh, remember them or remember what they said or,
yeah,
it's totally reasonable that the generation in the future would just take that one step further and that people would maybe even want to do that. Like if you're like, oh, I don't want to leave Wyatt. So you upload your voice for 2 months recording different things and saying different things. And that would go into like some sort of an avatar where, you put on the metaverse glasses and then it's just like, oh, there's my dad. Like
totally.
I want to talk to my dad. I wonder if he has any advice or wisdom or whatever for me. And like, or I just want to like talk about golf and like relive that experience.
Yeah, I mean, in the yoga class that I went to, we started off, and this guy, like, I feel energetically this spirit shows up, and he's like, "Hey, I'm the yoga teacher's dad," and I'm like, "Okay," and he's like, "I've got a message for you to give to her," and I was like, I was pretty resistant. I was like, "Dude, I'm just trying to do some yoga here, you know." And he goes on, and he's like, "Hey, this like, you got to tell her that the guy that she broke up with, you know, like, he wasn't great for her, and the new guy that she has, that she's connecting with, I really like him, and I hope they have a great time in Vegas." And I was like, well, this is like really particular information, you know. It was like really specific, that, you know, happened throughout the yoga class. You know, I got all this information, and so I ended up fighting through my reluctance, and I told her, and it turned out that her the boyfriend that she had broken up with knew her dad when her dad was still alive, and so she felt like there was like a bridge or a connection to the dad that way. So the breakup was really difficult for her because she felt like, you know, she'd lost her dad, and then she was losing this connection with a guy who, you know, basically had her dad's blessing, but now, to get his like blessing from the afterlife for this new, like, very early on relationship just meant so much to her. I mean, she was crying, and, you know, you could see like a lot of this kind of tension that she'd been carrying just sort of fall off of her shoulders. And then the thing about Vegas, she was like, "Oh my gosh, we're going to Vegas like next weekend." And, you know, it was pretty awesome. And then I heard, about a year and a half or 2 years later or something, that she got married to the guy, which is cool.
That's amazing. Imagine like 30 years in the future, 50 years in the future, there'll be no psychics and no
Yeah, I
like
mean, that's the thing.
interactions from
That's
like
exactly what I'm thinking
random
about.
yoga students. It'll just be like, oh, let me just talk to my dad, upload it in the internet, and then like pay someone to give me the advice that I want.
Yeah, you pay some service to keep your dad alive
Right. But then
as like
like,
a gigabyte.
yeah. And then like the person who's like, quote unquote, like playing your dad or something that's behind like, you know, the Wizard of Oz behind the behind the curtain is like, you know, gives you some sort of fatherly advice. And it's like, that's people's job is to like, you know,
That's basically a medium now. It's the same thing. It's just like, you know, but I understand.
but it's a little different
Yeah. Yeah.
when you're
So,
getting a direct message from someone.
but you're not saying they're getting a direct message. You're saying that there's some intermediary who's pretending to be the father.
Right.
But that's not what the upload is, like the actual person.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I was thinking like, you know, in the
Is your
future.
blood sugar going low? Do you need
No,
some food?
but I don't think in the metaverse, like if this whole thing were to actually play out, like I don't think the upload thing, like you could actually upload yourself to like your real self, like your real spirit energy to like the computer. That
I mean, I
seems
think at
like
some point something like that's probably going to happen. But what I'm talking about is like when you have enough data, like there's enough of these podcast episodes now that you can probably discern like a lot of my thought patterns, and you could program a computer to like think and make choices with like the selection bias that I have. And then with all of the recordings that we've got, like they could come up with a deep fake scenario to like mimic my voice. And so it's not really me, but it's probably like a pretty close facsimile to me. I
right.
mean, look at all these marketing companies and stuff, and they anticipate what you want, and, you know, they know like based on your taste and preferences which one you're most likely to choose, and so much of that is primed anyway. It's crazy.
That's true. But in the case of like, you know, if Wyatt has a significant other and like, let's just say you're dead, for example, like, let's just play this out in the situation of that yoga teacher where Wyatt's like with someone met you, you know, that you met, and, you know, he's like in love with this person. And then after, you know, you die, and then he breaks up with the person and then someone else. And he's like, oh, let me consult my dead dad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in that case, that he goes to this like uploaded future metaverse
Yeah.
dad gym algorithm, whatever you are,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if the algorithm in those type of situations would necessarily have some sort of advice. So my thinking would be that there would be some person who is like works for the company that you like houses is your cloud storage of your, you know, all your recordings and like simulated you or whatever,
Yeah.
your avatar. And then they would be like, oh, advice from dad, like, oh, pick the other, it's like, oh, I don't know which, if this is my dad gonna like this person, and do I have his blessing? And then the person, like the person that's like the Wizard of Oz behind the thing could be like, oh no, rejected, amazing, yes, and like gets to step in and perform that human component, because I don't think you can ever automate that. I don't think the algorithm could figure that out.
I disagree. I think you could. It'd be
Or
real
maybe
simple.
it's like a psychic that does it, and it's like, yeah, I'm channeling your dad, and this is what he said. Yeah,
Well, that's
that could work.
just brings us back to what's happening here. No, it's like easy enough. I mean, like you look, there's definitely enough episodes about me talking about relationships here. Like it would be real easy. The cloud would just be like, why it's like, hey, the thing, and my response would be like, is she kind? Like, do you guys like, are you kind to one another? And then like, what happens when you argue? How quickly do you like? Are you able to do that in a respectful way? Do you like who you are when you're with her?
Those are good questions.
Yeah, these are all questions that the algorithm would know that I ask, because I talk about this stuff all the time. And so then it would just spit that stuff out for Wyatt, and then Wyatt would be like, oh my God, my dad is the smartest, coolest guy, even in death. I'm so lucky that like half of me was like from him.
And everyone knows that you're a Leo.
It's my birthday. Let me just believe what I want today.
But the fact that that's what you want is like, that's such a Leo thing to do. It's so funny.
What can I say?
The best was last night when I was like, oh my gosh, the two of you Leos in the house. And I was like, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best. And then Wyatt pipes up as he's brushing his teeth that he did put his own toothpaste on the toothbrush and hopefully got it all the way around his mouth. He was like, I don't think I'm the best. I was like, who do you think is better than you? And he goes, well, no one. And I'm like, did you hear that?
I didn't hear that, no.
Oh, it was so funny. I was like, well, who is better than you then if you're not the best? And he goes, well,
I've been showing
Leo
him,
time, baby.
I've been showing him videos of like kid musicians that are just like awesome. And I don't know if it's having the desire. Like the thinking would be like, one, it's cool just to see great musicians. Two, like, can this be motivating for him to see like what happens if you actually practice?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, doesn't seem to be having that impact. It's
Well,
not like turning him off, but also like, it's like he's getting to be at that age where like if you want to be good, you have to practice. Like it's not like everyone is just like fumbling around by 10 now. It's like kids have specialized and they're working at it. And it's like, okay, if you still want to be great, you got to do it.
yeah.
And also like he got his
he's
like
10.
yeah, he got like totally beaten up sparring and thought that he did awesome. So
And that's the Leo factor that's coming in. The
yeah,
good
Leos
news
are the
is,
best. What's it like not being a Leo? I don't
the
even
good
know.
news is
Sounds
that,
like torture.
well, there's less self-confidence.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
Oh, it's so funny. Well, he's 10, so he's got lots of time to be able to figure out what he wants to do.
Well, I'm not saying he needs to like decide he wants to play at Carnegie Hall, but like, it's like if you want to continue to be great, you have to practice. And it's
Yeah.
like all the books say about praising kids. Like you praise their hard work and their effort, not the accomplishment.
Well, you got to message that the kids that you're showing them on YouTube or whatever, you got to message them and say, can you send some videos of you practicing?
Yeah.
And like how many hours you practiced.
Right.
Because it's not showing the performance that will help cultivate that behavior, but rather showing the practicing and showing them when they weren't very good.
Yeah.
And then saying, hey, look at this,
Well, he said when we were talking about practice, he was like, well, I'm talented. And that was like, talk about setting me off a little bit. It's just like, well, that's great. And also talent gives you like a couple feet head start in a foot race, but you're going to lose every time to someone who practices a lot. Kid with no talent but practices way more is eventually going to beat someone who just has talent.
True.
Again, it's that movie Gattaca. This movie's so good.
I've never seen that movie.
Yeah, it's that one we talked about with Ethan Hawke where there's like the genetically engineered kids that are like designed to be perfect, and then there's like the normies. Yeah.
Normies.
Yeah.
That's probably coming too.
I think that might already be here.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like,
I think they're going to
Brave
make
New World.
all the genetically engineered ones. They'll just make them all Leos, and that's like the cover for their greatness. They could just be like, instead of letting on that they're genetically engineered, they're just like, oh, they're just Leos.
not a very Leo thing to do.
To be awesome?
No, to make other ones that think they're awesome.
No, it would be like some like Taurus or someone who's just like knows that the best way to create this is to like create it. It's the perfect cover.
Seems unlikely that a Taurus would do that.
I don't know the signs. That's the only one I know.
I saw the sign. Just gonna start singing.
Are you trying to scare away all of our listeners?
Well, I didn't practice enough singing when I was a kid, so
Yeah,
now
because
got
you
this
were in
re-
chorus and like the girl next to you or in front of you like has gone on to be a super professional singer.
It's true. That was really embarrassing.
You were like the minnow to her shark. And you're like, I swim fast. I eat all sorts of food. Meanwhile, she's carrying the whole chorus.
I mean, if she if she wouldn't give me the notes singing second soprano in high school, yeah, it was hard for me to find that note in the middle, Like, for those of you who don't know music, second soprano is the in-between chord. It's like the note in the middle of the chord that you sing. And it's hard to find because your ear tends to go towards the lowest note or the highest note, which is the melody.
Oh, I didn't know any of that.
So the middle note is really actually hard to hear, to find it. It's like if you were like do, re, mi, that would be the re.
Cool.
That I would sing the re. Yeah. But I can't really do it anymore. I was okay singer when I was in high school, but I should have practiced more if I really wanted to take it next level. I like movement more than singing when I was a kid. And look at me now. I'm a yoga teacher. Boom. It all worked out. But I didn't start learning yoga until I was like 20-something. 20. I guess, no, I was in college, so it must have been 18.
What did your high school friends do when you would talk or like tell a joke that just wasn't funny and they would just all be silent, right? What do they call it, the burn?
They call it the burn. They just stare at you.
Kinda like
I'm
I
well
was just
accustomed
doing.
to that.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
weren't
it's just
phased at
normal.
all.
It's just normal to me. I'm like, well, that one didn't land. See where this goes. I'm used to it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, when you're kind of dorky growing up, this is what happens. You're just happy that someone wants to hang out with you, so. Because we didn't grow up with having a fake friend in the metaverse. Or whatever.
Yeah.
You actually have to have social skills, it turns out, when you live in the real world.
Turns out it's helpful. Though I don't know if it's how necessary that's going to be moving forward.
It probably won't be. People won't even want to have other friends because they can just have their virtual life.
The thing that scares me the most is this like augmented reality where people have these glasses or contacts, or it'll probably just be implanted as a chip where they just like tap their temple and all of a sudden like things just look prettier.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm into that.
I think it's going to be terrible.
Because then people have a total false sense of.
Yeah, it's like filters on everything. And
Yeah.
then it's just like, you're building your living situation, like all the stuff like could just totally go to shit. And then you're just like, everything still looks beautiful. And it's all fake. Like everything's in disrepair. Like, yeah.
That's definitely going to happen.
It's already happening. I mean, I've seen videos of people with augmented reality, they call it.
Well, there's like a whole city that's being built. I don't really know much about it, but I saw something on, because I try to follow some of these young kids that are talking about this stuff. But apparently there's like some virtual world that's like, it's like, maybe you've heard of it. It's like a few stories tall, but it's all glass. And like you can buy real estate inside of it and stuff. But it's like a city, but it's going to be, instead of it being flat on the ground, it's like vertical. Have you seen this?
Like a building?
No, because it's virtual.
What?
It's a virtual city.
Oh, so you're buying real estate in the virtual world?
Yes, but instead of the world being like flat, like our world, it's vertical. So like imagine.
Are you a flat earther now?
No.
What are you saying? Flat, like our world?
Like meaning like you have city blocks that are all next to each other.
Okay.
On the ground, horizontal.
All right.
Like it's more like a skyscraper, but it's
Okay.
like a world that's a skyscraper.
So like each level is a different world.
I don't know anything about the levels, but what it looks like from the outside is like if you imagine like in the middle of a desert, like a thin, like almost like a terrarium or something that's like put in the middle of it.
Uh-huh.
And then it's like all this like stuff inside of the world. So I guess the idea is that everybody has a view, everyone has a window, like because it's vertical instead of
Because it's fake.
horizontal.
because it's just all fake. It's all computer programmed. It's all fake. So it can be whatever you want it to be.
Right. But like there is still some physical design to it within the space. Like there's addresses and like it's like probably very similar to this Minecraft world where they're like building things and they know like the things have some sort of a three-dimensional shape in this virtual world. And so like the location actually is important.
What do you think is going to happen to like touch? How do you think people are going to get around the fact that like human touch is super important?
I don't know.
Like what's crazy is that we know for a fact that babies that aren't touched like don't thrive. A lot of them don't even survive. They get sick and they die. Like touch is an integral part to human development for our nervous system, for our brain, like our well-being. And then at some point along the way, we just like think that it's not important anymore. Like that, like when I was doing a lot of the relationship coaching, that was the thing that was like the one of the most sad things, especially because for me as a body worker, someone who like has touched clients and people for, you know, a long time, when you hear about how people just aren't touched, and we know it's a problem with like old folks, right?
Totally.
It's like, who wants to touch old people? Skin is wrinkly, they smell, like, you know, it's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, but we know how important it is early on in life, but then it's like, it's just so easy to get away from, you know. And if you have, if you're in a marriage or a relationship where like touching isn't really a thing, but like people need it, like it's really important.
I know.
And so then as like we get into this, like the virtual stuff, I just wonder what's going to happen to that need for touch. I mean, I would suspect that people will minimize the importance of that, and then they're going to, just suffer, you know, from all of the like lack of self-soothing and have more anxiety and like discomfort because they're not being touched. I'm sure they'll make some suits or something that have like some touch sensors and things, but I don't know that that's going to be able to replicate the same idea.
Well, I imagine that they'll probably end up being more services that are like available to people, like your weekly touch therapy or something, and could get weird.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you would think like if I was in charge of a community, if I was like a political leader or something, that would be something that like I would definitely mandate. Like you just know that when people are getting good quality touch, like they're gonna be happier. Their nervous systems are gonna be better regulated. They're gonna feel better. Like touch is so important. And like so if you're listening to this and you're like, single, and even if you've convinced yourself like, well, it's not a big deal, I'm not really built that way, like go get a massage. Like treat yourself. It's important. Or at least get like a pedicure where they give you like a foot massage. Like allow yourself to be touched by somebody else. Yeah. Bonus points if they're trained.
Yeah, that's interesting because you wonder if like, you know, when you think about evolution or something, you know, if people, especially now is like, you know, we see so many videos online of the ASMR where you hear like the, you know, and the people like whatever weird things they do in the microphone. But like there is actually like a visceral feeling that comes from that auditory response. Like you wonder if the brain will just like adapt to hearing certain sounds that translates into some sort of idea of a touch, that they experience that feeling in the body through sound or through visual simulation, that it actually like somehow creates some biochemical reaction in the body that like actually feels like you're being touched even though you're not, because the brain doesn't know the difference between what's happening in real life versus it could totally be that way. I mean, kind of like a cat like a meowing or purring, you know, like in a dream, like sometimes you feel like you're like, it feels so real, you know, like you feel it in your actual body, but it's just a dream.
Yeah.
I would imagine as technology progresses in some way that would become reality, is where you actually do feel it through your own brain evolution, even though you're by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. I mean, there's definitely going to be obviously adaptations that happen. But speaking of dreams, and this just goes to show you the power that I have been conditioned in the physical world and how that can lead to the change in dreams. I had a dream the other night that this woman showed up at my door wearing like a trench coat and she was ready to party, but she was covered in shaving cream, like the old school, like the kind of shaving cream my grandpa used to use, and like that was her kink. And I was like, all right, that's a little weird, but like, hey, this is cool. Like, let's do this. You know, I was all about it. And then like, as we started to like approach being able to start kissing, I could just smell, even in the dream, I could smell that, like the synthetic fragrances that are in that shaving cream. And I stepped back from the woman and I was like, "You're beautiful. I'm flattered. This would be super fun, but I just cannot handle the smell of this shaving cream. This is not going to work for me." And I left.
That's amazing. That's really funny.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so funny." Like I'm now so conditioned to appreciate like real smells that any of the synthetic fragrances is like just gets in the way, even in dream time.
But that's what I'm saying. And like, it was so real in your dream that it
Yeah.
was actually like you could smell it in your dream. So there's got to be a way that the brain processes things to be
Yeah, I'm sure
perceive that it's real.
they'll
Like,
probably just create another, they'll implant something to like modulate the touch receptors in the body. But even
yeah.
still, I just don't know. I don't know. I just think that physical touch is so important to like people thriving that I don't know, get massage.
Yeah.
Get love done.
Probably in the future there'll just be like there's going to be two worlds. There's going to be like the people that live in that crazy virtual world that have the implants and all the things, and then the people who are just like out
Off-grid normies.
totally off grid, like raising their own, food, doing like living on a farm, kind of like really old school. Like kind of like the Amish. I mean, that's what the Amish are, right? Like they just were like, no, we're not doing technology. And
Yeah.
they still live like that. While
Yeah.
the rest of us are like slowly progressing our way to this.
Well, we're just becoming
virtual,
cyborgs. We're just becoming cyborgs, like half human, half bionic.
And some, in the Amish culture, they're like, in some of the more traditional cultures, right? Hasidic Jews, I think, are similar. They're like, no, we're not doing that. We're sticking to the old ways.
Yeah.
And they like won't use any technology past, I don't know what date, but to like save this civilization or whatever. Super interesting.
Yeah, well, I don't think Hasidic people do that. I mean, they'll have like I think they have a day where they won't touch.
Day where they don't take technology.
I used to live in a building in Florida. Actually, that building in Surfside that collapsed a couple years ago. I used to live in that building.
You did?
No, was I in that building?
No, you said you didn't.
It was like a block over, I think. The one that I used to live in.
You didn't live in a building that collapsed.
The one that I lived in had a
it.
fire. Okay, so it was like a block over. It was right there. Anyway, I don't remember, but it was that area, and there's like a huge Hasidic population, and there's a day where they can't use electronics, and so but they still wanted to use the elevator. So, like, if you got on the elevator on that day and there was a Hasidic person there, I could be totally wrong. I think it's Hasidic. Forgive me if I'm butchering this. I walked in the elevator and they were just standing there. And like, when like they're closest to the thing and you're just like, well, hit the button, right? But they weren't allowed to like hit the button.
Oh, that makes sense.
And so then what the building started to do was on that day, they would have one of the elevators that would stop on every floor. It would just go up and down, stopping at every floor all the time.
Just so people
that people didn't have to like hit the button.
That's nice.
As if it's like, because hitting the button was somehow like related to like the work required to use technology. But if you just like happen to walk into a box that happens to go up and down and may stop at the floor that you need to get in, then you didn't like use technology. You didn't like work to make it happen.
That makes sense.
But like other people worked to push the button for the floor that you wanted.
Yeah. So maybe the Hasidics are not even close.
No, I don't think
very
it's
different.
I don't think.
I
it's
think
Hasidics.
that sounds like a different thing. It's not.
But they have like
Amish.
they have strong like stances against the vaccines and stuff. Like measles outbreak and stuff like was like spreading through the Hasidics
and they wear certain
Williamsburg
clothing and do
have
different rituals
honor
and
their
things that are
traditions and
more
stuff.
like less modern and
right,
promiscuous and all that stuff.
Yeah, all the things.
Yeah, super interesting.
All right, great. So we've covered some potential future options, future timelines, and some gloom and doom on my birthday. Way to bring the happy vibes.
Hey, it's all because you're getting older.
This is great.
You are in the future now.
I am the future. The future of Leos.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All of you Leos out there, I see you and I love you. And the rest of you?
Hey, you're amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing.
Thanks, Jen.
To all the Leos.
You're amazing too.
Amazing
as a Taurus can be. You're it.
You know what? I don't need to be told that I'm amazing every day.
I don't either. I know it.
Ah!
Oh, jeez. All right, guys. Thank you so
Oh
much
my
for being
gosh.
here, ladies and gentlemen. We love you. I love you. I won't speak for Jen.
I do love you a lot. People out there. Appreciate you.
And we'll see you hopefully soon in this physical world. I can give each other hugs and that physical touch. And then if you're listening to this because I'm dead and someone's turned me into some kind of ongoing podcast mannequin, that's cool too. I live on. Leos unite.
Oh my gosh, that's so weird.
All right. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.